President Ali hands over 50 new vehicles to the Ghana Police Force. UG Road taxi driver carjacked in North RUIMVELDT. SOESDYKE Linden highway accident. Route 32 minibus collides with truck head-on. In the region, Brazil's worst drought in over 90 years sees dams at record lows. And internationally, Guinea COUP. Army detains President CONDE, dissolves constitution. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, handed over a fleet of 50 new vehicles to the Ghana Police Force today. The new vehicles are expected to aid the Ghana Police Force in fighting crimes. The President was joined by the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandlal, Minister of Home Affairs, Rubison Ben, Commissioner of Police Acting Nigel Hoppy, and other high-ranking officials from the Ghana Police Force at the Police Sports Club ground in Ivleri. As schools reopen across the country today, Headline News took our camera to the schools around South RUIMVELDT area to get a first-hand look at what the turnout was like. Teachers, students, and even parents were seen at schools attempting to reintegrate into the school system after schools were forced to close for more than a year. Minister of Education Priya Manikchand, while visiting several schools in the city today, said there has been a good turnout for the reopening of schools. The minister said parents have an option of sending their children to school or having them stay home and using the materials provided by the ministry. In the coming weeks, the schools will complete a diagnostic assessment to get an idea of the gap in learning and adopt teaching methods to fill those gaps. Yesterday, a taxi driver was carjacked and robbed in Georgetown by two men, one of whom was his passenger. Esther Sobers has more on that story.
A 28-year-old male taxi driver is now left counting his losses after his motor car was hijacked by two men at Kaiken Street, North RUIMVELDT on Sunday at around 1 p.m. Inquiries disclosed the victim, who works taxi at the University of Guyana Road, was hired by one of the suspects who requested to be taken to Kaiken Street, North RUIMVELDT. When they reached the destination, another suspect approached a silver Allian motor car PPP 4947 and pulled out a handgun from the waist of his pants. He pointed the gun at the taxi driver, demanding him to exit the motor car. He refused. The suspect in the passenger seat pushed the victim out of the motor car. The other suspect entered the driver's seat and drove away with the car valued at $1.8 million, $23,000 cash, and one Samsung J Pro 2 cellular phone valued at $30,000. They escaped in the southern direction in Kaiken Street, North RUIMVELDT, and west onto Aubrey Barker Road to an unknown location. An investigation is ongoing. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. To combat the spread of the COVID-19 virus in Guyana, the Ministry of Health has undertaken several preventative measures. In the Emergency Gazette Paragraph 17, entering a public building states, any person who wishes to enter a public building shall be vaccinated. In light of this gazetted order, Republic Bank, Ghana Bank for Trade and Industry, and the Giftland Mall are advising their customers to walk with their vaccination cards and a valid ID card license to gain entry, as this will be the primary requirement by law. If a person is unvaccinated and wishes to enter a public building, they must make an appointment or provide a negative PCR test result. Only negative PCR test results from the Ministry of Health approved laboratory will be accepted for those measures. Just 6 days into September, Guyana has already recorded 19 COVID-related deaths. To date, there has been 2,300 active cases of COVID-19, with 2,269 of those active cases recovering at home. The death toll in the country climbed to 641 over the weekend, with 33 persons in the COVID-19 intensive care unit. As the Ministry of Health continues to roll out the vaccination drive across the nation, over 62% of the adult population has received their first dose of the vaccine, and over 32% of the adult population has been fully inoculated. The Pfizer vaccines are now being administered to children between the ages of 12 to 17. Don't go away after the break. Pig war ends bloody and SOESDYKE Linden highway accident. Route 32 minibus collides with truck.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome to Kissoon's Furniture. Find everything you need for your home and more under one roof in our newly decorated showroom. Our locally crafted furniture has been perfected over the last 60 years. From our hands to your home, we also bring to you our newly introduced lines of imported furniture and sleep center, where you can find a wide range of beds and mattresses. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 60 years.
For decades, milk has remained the same, until now. Introducing the Great Dairy Full Cream Milk from Alabama Trading. Enriched with vitamins A to D and calcium to promote healthy teeth, strong bones, and vitality. Great Dairy Milk is delicious and fortified to encourage healthy cell growth within the body. No wonder it's the #1 brand of milk produced in Ireland. Now available nationwide in 400-gram packages at leading supermarkets and wholesale vendors. Distributed by Alabama Trading.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop price smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Welcome back. A teenager and an elderly man are nursing serious injuries, and the teen's father is in police custody after a pig dispute evolved into a bloody war. Esther Sobers has more.
Police are investigating a shopping incident at number 51 Village, Quarantine, Berbice last night involving 16-year-old Tyrese George, 56-year-old Marvin Ross, and 2 elderly men. The teenager and Ross are now nursing injuries after a misunderstanding over a pig. According to information received, the father of the teen, Terrence George, and a male, Wayne Helliger, had a misunderstanding over a pig which led to a heated argument. Helliger and Marvin Ross went to their home with a cutlass. The teen took it away and ran Helliger. Helliger then managed to take back the cutlass and chop the teen in his head. Terrence George, upon seeing what was transpiring, picked up a piece of wood, ran towards Marvin, and dealt him one lash to his forehead, causing him to receive injuries. Both Marvin and Tyrese were picked up in a conscious state and taken to the Skeldon Public Hospital, where they were seen and examined. Tyrese was admitted as a patient while Marvin was treated and sent away. Terrence George was arrested and placed in custody. Investigations are in progress. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Two men are now on the run from the law after the car they were driving was found on the Wismar-Linden Bridge with more than $6 million worth of cannabis sativa on Sunday night. Acting on information, a party of policemen went to the eastern side of the Wismar Bridge, where a silver gray motor car with registrations plate PWW 9605, driven by one of the suspects, was seen in the line of traffic. Upon seeing the ranks approaching, he and another male in the car exited and fled into the thick vegetation south of the Wismar Bridge. The ranks gave chase behind them while one of the policemen managed to stop the said car, which was still in drive mode. He, along with two other ranks, escorted the car to the Mackenzie police station. Despite efforts to apprehend the suspects, they made good their escape. The car was searched and 6 bulky wrapped transparent plastic parcels with leaves, seeds and stems suspected to be cannabis were found in the trunk. The cannabis was weighed and amounted to 44 pounds, an estimated street value of $6.6 million. Following the narcotics find at the Wismar Bridge and the subsequent escape of the suspects, police visited a location at 1 Mile Wismar to make checks for one of the suspects who is now wanted for trafficking narcotics. When the police arrived, they made contact with the suspect's brother. They requested a search of his body. He violently pushed the police away, causing him to fall and receive injuries to his left elbow. Other ranks went to the sergeant's assistance, but the said male assaulted them in the process of having him arrested. He was subsequently arrested and taken to the Mackenzie police station and placed in custody. The sergeant and 2 other ranks sought medical attention at the Linden Hospital complex. They were treated and sent away. Statements are to be submitted for possible charges and investigations are ongoing. Continuing our coverage in Region 10, a Route 32 minibus driver is in the hospital after he allegedly drove head-on into the path of a truck on the Linden-SOESDYKE highway. Here is more from Esther Sobers.
A minibus driver is in hospital after colliding with a truck at Madwini Public Road, SOESDYKE Linden Highway in the early hours of Sunday morning. According to investigations, minibus BZZ 6091, driven by 31-year-old Michael Daniels of Lou Creek SOESDYKE Highway, Linden, was proceeding north on the highway when he lost control and ended up in the path of motor lorry GRR 3993, driven by 35-year-old Rameshwar Maraj of Greenfield, East Coast, Demerara. It is alleged that the driver of the motor lorry swerved east in an attempt to avoid a collision but ended up hitting the front portion of the minibus. As a result of the collision, both vehicles received damages. The driver of the minibus was picked up in a conscious condition and taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital. He was seen and examined by a doctor and admitted as a patient. The lorry driver is in custody assisting with the investigation as it continues. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go away after the break. Brazil's worst drought in over 90 years sees dams at record lows, and Sri Lanka calls to address garment workers' rights during pandemic. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome to Kissoon's Furniture. Find everything you need for your home and more under one roof in our newly decorated showroom. Our locally crafted furniture has been perfected over the last 60 years. From our hands to your home. We also bring to you our newly introduced lines of imported furniture and sleep center, where you can find a wide range of beds and mattresses. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 60 years.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop Through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop price smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. Brazil's worst drought in nearly a century is drying up reservoirs and threatening its energy supply. Water level in many hydroelectric dams have dropped to record lows. The government says it may have to start rationing electricity. Al Jazeera's Emily Sue reports.
This is the Furnace Reservoir, next to one of the main hydroelectric dams in the Brazilian state Minas Gerais. Water levels there have dropped 15 meters since last year, caused by the worst drought Brazil has seen in more than 90 years. Residents say there's barely enough water for boats to operate.
The water level has gone down a lot. There are several sandbanks like these in the canyon, so there's no space for all the boats to maneuver. When one boat enters, the tourist will take a picture and leave so the next boat can enter, because there is no space for all the boats to enter together.
Record low rainfall is also affecting fish farms in the region.
I used to catch 15-20 fish a day. Now it's been reduced to 5 or 6.
And now the drought is squeezing energy supplies in a country that relies on hydropower plants for 2/3 of its electricity. The government has warned that rationing could be next.
The problem is serious. I appeal to you at home. I'm sure that you can turn off a light now. Turning off one light helps. It saves energy and water for hydroelectric plants. Water levels are at 10 to 15% in most of these hydroelectric plants. We're at the limit. Some will stop working if this water crisis continues.
Consumers are already feeling the impact. Power bills are going up, as well as the prices of basic goods such as grains and meat.
In December, my electricity bill was $164. This month, it's $235, using the same number of freezers without changing anything. The price has gone up a lot. It's hard to work like this.
The drought's also devastating coffee crops. Brazil is the world's biggest exporter, but production is expected to fall by a quarter this season, a situation made worse by a cold snap in July. Experts say Amazon deforestation, which has accelerated under the Bolsonaro government, has played a role in causing the crisis. And with more dry weather expected throughout September, life could get more difficult for Brazilians. Emily Sue, Al Jazeera.
Internationally, Sri Lanka has extended its coronavirus lockdown into a third week to control a new wave of infections. Despite the restrictions, garment workers are still operating with a high risk of infections. Al Jazeera's Manali Fernandez reports.
Nirosha Kumari has worked in Sri Lanka's garment sector for 20 years. She's one of 350,000 people working in the multi-billion-dollar industry that manufactures products for top international brands. She says many workers like her have had COVID-19 infection and suffer lasting effects.
Even though we go to work after the 14 days, some of us feel very weak, have no appetite and have difficulty breathing. I'm still taking medicine. Some workers work for a day or two and have to stop. They go back because they have no choice and want to safeguard their jobs.
Chamila Tushari has been campaigning for worker rights for many years. She says companies must ensure the safety of workers during this crisis.
During this time, migrant worker earnings have fallen. The tourism industry has fallen. We are not getting proper income. If we want to safeguard this industry, safeguard the country, then create the systems to keep them safe. The companies must bear the cost of that.
Chamila says these systems must cover the workplace, lodgings, quarantine, treatment and salaries. Garment exports from Sri Lanka totaled $5.3 billion in 2019, but fell to $4.1 billion in 2020 due to the pandemic. Senior industry figures says recovery is underway.
The garment industry is one of Sri Lanka's top foreign exchange earners. Though there is a risk of so many people coming together in factories like this, the country cannot afford to lose this vital source of income.
This is one of the largest garment manufacturing plants in South Asia.
Around 3,000 plus work team members are in the main floor, and we have the rules which regarding to the COVID protocols, and we are working to the rules.
The Joint Apparel Association Forum says those rules are not taken lightly. It says factories brought in a lot of changes, from seating in buses to the layout of factories, social distancing in canteens, or allocation of toilets.
From a manufacturing perspective, obviously the big challenge is that when you have people missing in a production line, and obviously you don't have them uniformly, they are scattered all over the place, that has a knock-on impact on the production's abilities.
The industry body says 30% of workers have been vaccinated so far, with the entire workforce expected to be covered by the end of the year. That will be good news for Nirosha and those like her, who need all the protection they can get. Mina Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Colombo.
And finally, soldiers have detained Guinea's president, Alpha Conde, in a coup. On national television, coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya, the head of the country's special forces, says the borders are closed and the constitution dissolved. The United Nations and West Africa Economic Bloc have condemned the military takeover. Al Jazeera's Nicholas Haig reports.
Not in his usual presidential attire. On this mobile phone video, the 83-year-old president appears disheveled. He's being detained by the country's special forces. Men meant to protect him now hold him in custody. One soldier asks him, "Have you been beaten or injured?" "No," he says. On national television, coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya, a former French legionnaire, now head of the country's special forces, says the borders are closed and the constitution dissolved. Conde has been deposed.
La personnalisation de la politique.
The personalization of politics, of political life is over. We will no longer entrust politics to a man. We will entrust it to the people. We come only for that. It is the duty of a soldier to save the country. The only thing that motivates us is that we are going to put in place a system that does not exist, and we must all build this system together.
There were celebrations in some neighborhoods of the capital before an overnight nationwide curfew was put in place, with the military patrolling the streets. Coup leaders have removed regional governors and replaced them with military commanders. The military has asked civil servants to return to work on Monday, and all former ministers and government officials are expected to gather at 11 a.m. at the People's Palace. The coup leaders say any defiance will be treated as an act of rebellion. Earlier, gunfire and explosions were heard around the presidential palace, with men in uniform asking residents to stay indoors. Alpha Conde won last October's presidential election. Amidst widespread protest, he amended the constitution, allowing him to run for a third mandate. The outcome was disputed by the opposition and members of civil society. Security forces fired live rounds to disperse the demonstrators. French President Macron accused Conde of grabbing power, with neighboring Senegal and Guinea-Bissau closing their borders, leaving the president increasingly isolated. Conde has been accused by critics of corruption and profiting from the mineral-rich country while leaving the citizens in poverty. Last week, Alpha Conde asked the parliament to raise the budget for the president while reducing budgets and wages of the civil servants and members of the security forces, stirring further discontent, especially among the ranks of the armed forces.
Clearly, the security forces, they are divided, as this has been pointed out, but they are the one leading the game right now. And some people are wondering if there are some opposition leader in the background. It's too early to say that.
The United Nations Secretary General has called for the immediate release of the president and condemned the takeover by security forces. The African Union and ECOWAS have also condemned the coup, with the West African bloc threatening sanctions if the elected government isn't reinstated. After 11 years in power and thwarting numerous coup attempts, Alpha Conde appears meek and humiliated, no longer in power in a country in chaos faced with uncertainty. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, stay safe and take care.